economists in the room? Nobody wants to admit it. A couple people want to admit it. This presentation is about ideas for Tampa's economy, or a new model for Tampa's economy, and it's about not being normal. But it's not an econometrics presentation, and it's about Tampa, the city of Tampa, not about Hillsborough County, not about the Tampa Bay area. But those of you from St. Pete, half of the audience here, please don't tune out because I'm going to talk about St. Pete a lot. So as we start thinking about a new model for the economy of Tampa, there are a lot of great things happening in Tampa right now. In fact, Tampa's getting lots of publicity nationally and internationally. But if we want to be serious about taking Tampa even to the next level, we need to go beyond the rhetoric and really think about what the opportunities are and what the weaknesses are that we need to address. And as we're doing that, we need to be thinking about the numbers, be honest about the numbers. The Port of Tampa a few years ago used to say, we're Florida's largest port. Well, in a couple measures they are, but in the real measure that ports use, they're actually last among major ports in Florida. There's a new team there that's trying to change things now, but we need to be honest about it. Stop relying on St. Pete for all the St. Pete people. As you look at the Tampa Bay rankings, Tampa gets credit for a lot of St. Pete's numbers. If we want to be honest about Tampa, we need to look at Tampa's numbers, not just the regional numbers. We need to be regional, but also look at Tampa's numbers. Florida goes through 10-year boom and bust cycles, and it's been going on since the last century. We need to think about, is there going to be another recession? Are we in a bubble? And we need to start preparing now, saving money, hoarding cash, and we need to promote fiscal responsibility. The city of Tampa this week announced that they have a $13.5 million shortfall at the top of the economic boom that we're in. We need to be really careful, government and companies, to conserve cash and cut costs. And we need to go beyond downtown. Tampa has done a great job in building its downtown the last few years, but so has St. Pete, Sarasota, Orlando, Miami. Every city in the state is doing well at downtown. We differentiate ourselves by promoting other parts of the city and building them. Our rankings are high. Tampa's growing fast, doing well, but it's about with the state average, maybe slightly above, and Florida slightly above the national averages. But if we really want to differentiate ourselves, we need to aim higher. Think about what is the gateway to Tampa. You might think about the airport, you might think about downtown. There are millionaires and billionaires every day driving from Orlando to Busch Gardens, and their gateway to Tampa is Busch Boulevard and Fowler Avenue. I think everybody in the room will agree with this slide. We need to grow our own. The best companies, the fastest growing companies in the region are locally based, locally grown companies. Let's stop recruiting Bass Pro Shops and with subsidies and others and call centers, and let's build up our own companies. We need to make Tampa a global city. A few years ago, a group of us fought really hard to get a change in management at Tampa Airport. We fought for international flights, and we fought for a new master plan at the airport. The airport's growing like crazy now, but we need to build on that, and one of the ways we build on it is by recruiting international banks. Anybody see the movie The Infiltrator? Back in the 80s, we had international banks, and there was a bank here that was tied to money laundering, so we lost the international banks. International investment follows international banks. We talk about the Panama Canal and the containers coming through the Panama Canal from Asia. Most of them are going to the East Coast. Why? Because the transshipment hubs are on the East Coast where they unload and offload to smaller ships. In Cuba, they're building the transshipment hub of the hemisphere, and they want Tampa to be their gateway to Asia. As we talk about quality of life, we need to ask the HR managers in the area, what are people telling you as to why they won't move here? These families that are high-tech people, and let's try to adapt to what's needed to get more people to move that have experience. Why was St. Pete more successful than Tampa years ago in downtown development? Because St. Pete started with what I call the software. While Tampa was building buildings, St. Pete was working on its culture, its arts, the coffee shops, the connectivity between the people. And now Tampa's doing that also, but we need to move faster. And one of the ways we do it is by bringing back the arts. Tampa lost one of its greatest artists 10 years ago when Duncan McClellan moved to St. Pete and started the Warehouse Arts District. We need to support our arts and move them back. When you talk to an arts person and mention STEM, the first thing they say is, we need to add an A. I think we need to get rid of all of that and talk about how arts and humanities are equal to or better than STEM. We need to not just train robot repair people, we need to train people to think ahead of AI. Our roots are Latin, and the slide didn't turn out perfectly, but it says somos Tampeños. Instead of saying we're Tampanians or Tampons, which I hate, let's call ourselves Tampeños. Think about why we fail on big issues like transportation. It's a failure to listen. We know what the public wants. We know how to build what they want, but we don't listen to them. We don't build consensus. If we build consensus and we truly listen and try to work together, we can solve the problems. Because forget the numbers of economics for a minute. Isn't happiness really what we're all trying to achieve? So please help us all pursue happiness together. Thank you.